Hey, Funkin' fans, this is Strickland doing a special pre-intro of the show just to show you how much I love you guys. I am in Vegas right now doing this for you when I could be out at the pool. So as you may or may not know, Doug does these interviews a good month ahead of time or more, and we make notes, but when we're reading our intros, we go back and basically look at the notes and try to remember what Doug talked about, and we don't always remember. So we make a comment a couple times about today's interview, Stan Phelps, that he seems like kind of a straight guy. Well, it is absolutely positively not the case. So I'm apologizing for Stan. But more importantly, the reason I'm doing this intro is because Stan makes a reference to Snowball, a movie reference in the intro. And that is a movie reference to a Kevin Smith movie called Clerks, which was his first movie. I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, but the Snowball reference is a little bit racy. So we're not going to go into the details here, but we will put a link in the show notes. So if you are curious and you want to know what Snowball means, go check out the show notes. Click on the link. Definitely not for the faint of heart. Okay, let's get on with the show now.
Dropped on their heads as children. Here's what's coming up on the Nice Guys on Business.
The companies that we studied and we did this big crowdsourcing project where people submitted examples of when they've had great customer experience. And when I studied and saw the patterns, again, with these Hall of Famers, they didn't just get it for the customers. They even got it more so for their employees in terms of doing the little things to give to their employees.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition or the Nice Guys on Business. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Welcome back, Funkin' fans. It is Monday. My name is Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler. Tomorrow, we will be at Podcast Movement.
Oh, I was going to say, you just started and already you're talking about tomorrow.
No, tomorrow. No, sorry. We're going to be at Podcast Movement tomorrow. I mean, we do have an interview today, so that is really, Podcast Movement is not what we're talking about. But I was just thinking about that. I'm so excited to go to Podcast Movement tomorrow.
It's going to be great.
For us.
This is, I think, officially our first. I mean, we did go to DC Podfest, and I'm not taking away anything from DC Podfest, but it was a much smaller footprint of a conference. This one, I think, if I remember correctly, 2,000 plus podcasters.
I think it's 3,000.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Strick,
so
where
if
do you
there's anybody that's listening that is actually going to be at Podcast Movement, reach out to us, tweet out. We'll have to grab a beer.
I would like to do that. Well, you'll just be coming off of a 3-day bender in Las Vegas, won't you?
And what's the problem?
And you're going to just continue the drinking?
Of course.
So
I don't want to get those DT headaches. You know, I mean, if I keep drinking, then I won't get the withdrawal.
Strick, if you know, we haven't even talked about like what is the goal? What are we trying to walk away from when we go out to the conference? Any idea? Do you have like in your mind what you want to have happen? I mean,
they have so many. I was looking over the list of speakers. My God, it's like 200 speakers or something.
I haven't done any research about this.
Well, that's the thing is that I looked at it and I was like almost overwhelmed because there is so much stuff. I definitely want to go see the show floor to see. We need to find a good podcast player that we can plug into WordPress and, see what other software is out there. And, I mean, we love Acuity.
I'm curious what. Oh gosh, Acuity has been so awesome. I shudder to think that we're going to move away from the scheduling program.
Well, there may not be something better. I don't know, but we want to see what's out there. But you're right. There's so much stuff. I haven't even looked into what we want to see or what keynotes we want to go to or so much stuff. Yep.
So when I first started DJing, there was no such thing as like a conference for DJs. It was probably 15 years into my DJ business, and I've been a DJ for the last 30 years as a mobile guy. It was probably 15 years into my DJ business that I started going to these conferences. And what I discovered was I've figured out a way to do it that nobody else has done. And I've been more, I'm not saying this in trying to compare myself to anybody, but the fact that I didn't go to anything actually led to my success. It took longer, I think, but I did it in a completely different way. And because I didn't know what I didn't know, I was building my own business. we built this business for 2.5 years, not knowing exactly if we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. I think you and I have discovered that we've completely done it wrong the entire time.
And now in February, you're going to be actually speaking at the Mobile Beat DJ conference,
That's crazy. Oh yeah, that is crazy. So I am.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that is a full circle for sure.
We do have an interview today.
Oh, is today interview?
Stan Phelps.
Oh, okay, cool. Wait, he's the purple goldfish guy.
Exactly.
Oh, this was a good interview. You guys will like this.
Right? Okay, continue. You're waiting for me to jump in. He's got a bunch of books. He's like the purple goldfish and the blue goldfish and the golden goldfish. It's how to stand out in the crowd. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
It's funny. This is an entire color week. On Wednesday we have Jeffrey Gittimer talking about all of his red book, blue book, purple book, gold book, and today it's Stan Phelps, and his first book, his last book, The Purple Goldfish, it talks all about how to be a differentiator in your world, isn't it?
Yeah, 12 ways to win customers and influence word of mouth. That's what the Purple Goldfish book is all about.
So he is a keynote speaker. He does workshops. He does a whole bunch of fun stuff, including writing books. He actually was a TEDx speaker. Really cool. He talks about super glue the power of glue. He talks about glue in his TEDx talk. So you might want to check that out. Also, we'll make sure we put the link to his website in the show notes. Before we get to the interview with him, can we you want to do a quick thing on Overcast? I know that.
Yeah, we really need the recommendations on Overcast, guys. We're going to be pounding it all week, so please be patient with us. But we really appreciate it. We know most of you listen on Overcast. We need the recommendations, all right? I mean, we're like insecure. We need to feed our ego and stay up in the lists because, we're down to, what is it, number 12 overall or something?
Well, as of Friday, we were number 12 in the overall rankings. We were number 1 still in the business category. But I have made a discovery of a little bit scary. A lot of people have made the move over to Overcast as podcasters. Mm-hmm. So now you got guys like Jordan Harbinger, and NPR has put now, I think most of their shows, if not all of their shows, are now on Overcast as well. And of course, we still have that guy, what is his name again?
Tim.
Yeah, that's
Ferriss
it. Tim
Jim
Ferriss.
Harris.
So,
did you like that intro from last week?
Yeah. What happened? What was it? I might have missed it.
Stan seems like a pretty straight guy. I don't know if I should say it. It's a little blue.
Oh, well, you've already dropped the F-bomb. You've said a couple other curse words, so you may as well do it.
You remember the beginning of Deadpool? In Deadpool, he says, I bet you're wondering whose balls I had to fondle to get into a movie.
Oh,
I'm not going to say his name, but it rhymes with Pulverine.
Yeah,
so we adapted that one too. I bet you're wondering whose balls Doug and Strickland had to fondle to get their own podcast. Well, I can't say his name, but it rhymes with Jim Harris.
I missed the
You totally didn't get that, did you?
I totally didn't get it. I saw Deadpool at your recommendation. Great movie. But I didn't remember that line. So, number one, I didn't remember the line. Secondly, I didn't place the connection between Tim Ferriss and
Jim Harris.
And Jim Harris. So, how do you come up with this shit?
Lots of alcohol. I have no idea.
It's just incredible that
I get bored with the same intros. We only have like 120 intros and I get bored with them.
I was listening to the entire week last week. I didn't have a chance because I was out of town. I didn't have a chance to listen to every episode, but I wanted to listen to all the intros.
Right. One of these days, I'm going to just glom together all of Steve O'Brien's intros. We're going to have one MP3 file just for Patreon patrons that is just
they're
every
hilarious.
single one of Steve O'Brien's intros, which would be
How
hilarious.
many would you say that you have? I mean, we've probably gone to the well maybe 10 times with Steve O'Brien and having at least 10 or 15 each time that we go to him.
Well, why don't you talk about Stan? It'll take me 2 minutes to find out. I can just count them. I got them all in a folder here. So
there are a ton of them. So he wrote this book called Purple Goldfish, and it's a brand new book, or maybe it's not a brand new book, but Purple Goldfish: How to Win Customers and Influence Word of Mouth. It's the major differentiation via added value. Marketing to your existing customers via glue, giving little unexpected extras. So we spend part of the episode talking about the little unexpected extras, and It's a really cool book because it's not a challenging read. It's an easy read, and he's got a whole series of books this way, and very similar to other guys that have written books in a series. He kind of draws a fine line from one book to the other, and I think you'll really enjoy the Purple Goldfish book. All right, do you have the information? Because I am ready to roll. No, you don't have it.
This includes our pre-opens, right?
Okay,
and there are about 15 of those, right? So it's like where he says, hey, here's what you have to look forward to in The Nice Guys, or Raised by Wolves, or, whatever, right? But including those, we have 152.
Oh my gosh. So I was close. We have 152 of them, and some of them are A+, and then there's some of them that are we tried, but it didn't really come out the way that we wanted it to. It wasn't Steve.
No, there are a bunch
fault.
of them where like I've probably used it once and I may never use it again, but we still have them. It's still pretty damn funny.
So, but you don't know what the timing is on those. Like if you strung them all back to back with a beep right in between each one.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds long, so it really wouldn't be that much.
All right, so let's say that if each one of them, it was...
Let's say they average 20 seconds apiece.
Okay, so
150 of them times 20 seconds is going to be 3,000 seconds.
Divided by 60.
What's that?
It would be...
5 minutes?
It's still 50 minutes.
Oh my God, is it 50 minutes? That is kind of crazy, actually. 3,000 seconds? Is that 50 minutes or 5 minutes? I guess it is 50 minutes, isn't it?
3,000 minutes, 3,000 seconds divided by 60 seconds in a minute. Yeah, it's 50 minutes.
Oh my God.
That would be an entire
we have an
fucking
hour of
episode.
just Steve O'Brien saying, hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Nice Guys.
Well, you know what we should do? We should put all of those together, but we should also have some music in the background because I think that would add to the... We should do that. That would be hilarious. We would laugh our ass off.
We do have groups too, like I could just, I've actually had to start in the titles of them. I've had to put the name of the movie first so I can group them together, right?
Jeez. All right. So, yeah, I got it.
Right. So that way I know it's like, yeah.
So how many groups do you have?
Well, I mean, I've got them alphabetical, so I don't have them like in separate folders, but I've like got airplane, inconvenience, fly a plane, airplane, quit amphetamines, airplane, Shirley intro, airplane, Turkish prison, airplane, wrong week montage.
Gosh. Yeah, you know what we should probably do? Let's play a string of just airplane intro outros, or maybe do the Easter egg as all of the outros. Do the Easter egg as all of the intros for the airplane.
That'd be funny. The airplane ones are my favorites.
Yeah,
I love.
Yeah, those are good ones.
I gotta find the one that he improv too, which was, what do you make of this? Well, you can make a brooch, or it's a pterodactyl. He totally improv that. It's hilarious.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get to the interview with who's on the show today? Stan.
Jeez, whiz. We get off on such a tangent.
Is it Stan today?
Stan, we apologize.
Yeah, sorry, Stan,
we really want to get to
sorry.
Stan Phelps. You're a good guy and you deserve better. We're sorry.
So in other words, what Strick is saying is you may want to consider going to another show. So what we'll do, Stan, is we're going to air this on like Monday morning. So if by noon we don't hear from you to tell us to yank the episode, we're just going to let it go. I do remember I met Stan down in Orlando when he was introduced to me by Adam Toporek. I was on some tirade. I forget who I was sitting with. I was sitting with Cliff Quicksell. Believe it or not, that is a name of a person. Wow. I was sitting with Cliff and we were having dinner and we were talking. I can't remember if it was customer service or something, but I was like just going off on some subject, and Adam and Stan walked up and then Adam said, well, I guess Stan will probably want to be on your show now or something like that. So anyway, so I invited Stan on the show. He felt sorry for me. I think he accepted and said yes. And he can now see why he probably should have never said yes.
Okay, then.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that he's probably not going to want to start a podcast with us because I believe I did ask him that question, when you're going to start your own podcast, because he does know a whole bunch of podcasters. I probably put in a pitch for us, but probably lost that deal. It's okay. We got a lot of customers. All right, let's get to the interview. Stan Phelps here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Let's go. The age-old question, how do I stand out in a sea of sameness? And in a business world that statistically says that nearly 90% of businesses will compete on customer service, our guest today, Stan Phelps, will provide some action items to help you and your company to think outside the fishbowl. See how I did that, Stan? You see how I did that? Welcome, Stan, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
I love having you here because the first thing that you said when we connected just a couple of minutes ago before I hit record, you said something about Strickland. And Strickland, he only listens to about the first 3 minutes of the episode before he starts to actually zone out on his editing. So why don't we just, at the top of the show here, Stan, let's talk a little bit about Strickland. So do you recall what you said about him?
Yeah, so I've got a challenge for Strickland. I know he's a movie guy.
Yes, he definitely is a movie guy.
He's a movie guy. So I actually made a purchase on both of your recommendations for this podcast in specific. I bought a Snowball microphone.
Oh, nice. When I connected with you, a lot of people have the Yeti, but very few people have the Snowball, which is like its inexpensive cousin. So I'm like,
yes.
So this is good. So I'm assuming that this is only one of a few podcasts that you've done, or
I've done a few, but you guys, I felt like I needed to raise the game. And,
Whoa.
And yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Anytime that the Nice Guys raise anybody's game, you have a very low indicator that you try to shoot for. Then apparently all the time.
So let me give Bonner. It's a 2-part question.
Oh, okay.
So here's the movie trivia. If I say Snowball to you, and you're a movie trivia guy, Kevin Smith would be the clue. What would you think of? And then explain what a snowball is.
All right, so I am completely clueless. So should we just let Strickland answer the question
sure.
in a little bit, or do you want to give the answer like upside down at the end of the
No, let him answer.
Okay, all right. So the clue is Snowball, and you said Stan Smith. Is that what you said? Also,
Kevin Smith.
Kevin. Sorry, Stan is you. Kevin Smith is probably the character. All right, cool. All right, I like this. So I'm assuming that probably based upon that, you have heard a couple of episodes of the show. Then
I have, yeah. I've become a fan here in the last few weeks.
This is not good. There is medication that you can take that will help you avoid listening to our show instead. So apparently you're an insomniac. You need a little bit of help sleeping at night, or you just like to get a laugh or drive off the side of the road while you're driving to work. Is that what's going on?
I don't have a long commute, but I am a fan of listening. I actually do all of my books through Audible.
Yeah.
So I am a huge fan.
Well, speaking of which, you have this really cool series, and when I think I brought home, you had a mini book. One of the books, it was a purple book, right?
Correct.
Is that the one? Okay, so you handed me a purple book, and first thing my wife says is something about Seth Godin when I got home, because doesn't he have a purple cowl or something like that?
I mean, seminal book if you're a marketer, and if you haven't picked up Purple Cow, it came out 2002, so just like 15 years ago. But it still is relevant today. And what Seth said really is that your product needs to stand out. And he has a great story about being in Paris and seeing a cow on the countryside. And the idea that if the cow is purple, after seeing a bunch of cows, it would really be memorable. Mm-hmm. And the idea that your product needed to stand out. And I think, and I wrote my book a decade after Seth's. Certainly he was an inspiration, but there's deeper meaning behind the color and why a goldfish. But I guess the similarity would be, I think we live in an age of equivalency today, Doug.
Yeah.
And that you really need to be able to stand out. And the way you actually do that is not just with your product or service, but it's the entire experience that you deliver as part of that. And I think that's what these little things, not a cow, but like a goldfish, little things that you can do can truly make the biggest difference.
And so how do you, and I know this is one of those things that we talk about ad nauseum on the show, and a lot of companies try to aspire to be like, but how do you then just put that into your day-to-day? It's hard to put uniqueness and this feeling of, well, this little extra thing. Like, what are those little extra things that it could be a handwritten note, it could be, a Starbucks coffee card, it could be any number of things. But how do you then not make that feel like it's routine? Because it's almost like it's got to constantly evolve.
Oh yeah, it's going to constantly evolve. the way I wrote my first book was to collect over 1,000 examples because I really wanted to find out the different ways that you could do it. And I boiled down, Doug, there's 12 different ways that you can actually deliver that little something extra. So it's all tied in with this concept of lagniappe, which is
I saw that. I didn't know if that was an acronym for something but I'm sure you can explain. You can have lagniappe.
That's a Creole word, which means so if you're down in Louisiana, it's French and Spanish. It literally means the gift or to give more. And the idea is that if you're down in New Orleans, it's customary for a business consistently, and that's going to be a key thing,
right,
consistently to do a signature little something extra, something that gets thrown in for good measure.
Now, is this something that the customer's not even expecting? Like, is this a little bonus, or is this something that is like the signature, the brand mark of the company?
It's a little bit of both. So
okay.
Here's an example. So this idea of doing that little something extra that becomes signature. Have you ever stayed at a DoubleTree hotel?
Oh, cookies.
But not just an ordinary cookie.
No, warm cookies that are just like this. Yeah, and they have this special little. It's funny you say that. Okay, all right. So tell me about it.
That's a great example of how do you make that warm first impression.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget. I was one of my first business trips ever, Doug. I was in Atlanta. Flights were delayed. I missed dinner. I get to the hotel at like 11:30 at night. I'm crabby. I'm just mad at the world. And they gave me that cookie, that warm, packed with chocolate chips, and it was like a gift from heaven.
So help me, though, come up with a differentiator for just a second. Okay, so we have the example that we just used with
Sure.
DoubleTree, and that's the chocolate chip cookies. And that's a great example of a company actually in mass, or I don't know what you want to call that, their brand statement or whatever it is. What did you call it again? What's the name? What's the
lagniappe.
Lagniappe. Okay, so you have lagniappe done by DoubleTree with the chocolate chip cookies. On the other side of the equation, I walk into Salt Lake City Airport and I go to rent my car and I go through the normal experience and everything is fine there. And then I get to the guy that actually hands me the keys and actually sets up the car and shows me all the things to do with the car.
Sure.
This guy is so far above and beyond with customer service, like Mr. Friendly. Like he hands me his card. He's got the phone number, his cell phone number circled on the card. Right. I mean, it was just like he couldn't do enough for me, and that was Enterprise. And they did such an amazing job with me actually at this. But that wasn't like that was a company instruction for what the guy needed to do, but that was something that he took. So can they be both?
Enterprise is, by the way, Enterprise is one of my Hall of Famers. Every year I pick about 10 companies, and I've been doing it for the last 7 years. So I have about 60 or so companies that are in my Hall of Fame. Enterprise gets it. In fact, they're actually the ones that created the likelihood to recommend to a friend or a colleague.
Right.
And they've got it down to a science.
Net promoter score.
You can thank them for that. In fact, but they only do it on a 1 to 5 scale. But here's the deal. You have to empower your employees to do it.
Yeah.
And it has to be a commitment. You can't have, we think from a marketing perspective, you can do it from a campaign mindset. But here's the deal. If you start something and you do that signature little extra, you can't take it away, Doug.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because now the next time, I hate to say it, but the next time I go to Enterprise, I'm looking for Rob. It's like, and Rob is he's only in Salt Lake City. So is there another Rob that's going to be in Detroit when I go to visit? Not that I'm sorry for everybody that lives in Detroit. I just apologize to you right now.
So let me challenge you on Enterprise. What do you think their signature differentiator is when you compare Enterprise to Hertz or Avis or another rental car company?
If I remember correctly, the thing that would stick in my mind is that, now I haven't had to take advantage of this, but the fact that they will pick up and deliver you.
Absolutely. And that actually was, pioneered by a branch manager who just got tired of having to go to, deal with these calls of people at auto repair shops that were stranded, had no way to get, and I'll just come get you. That has become a signature. That would be a signature purple goldfish. But here's the key. It doesn't always have to be something that you give. What I found is that there's 12 ways to do this in purple goldfish. Half of them are on what I call the maintenance side of the equation. Half are value, half are maintenance. And this is based on my dating theory.
Oh, okay. Single guy, apparently, right?
Well, no, I'm happily married. But when I used to date, they were the two criteria that I looked for a potential dating, when I was thinking about dating someone. And I'll ask you this. When it comes to value, do you want high value or low value, Doug?
Well, you want high value.
Absolutely. Now, here's the key. When it comes to maintenance, do you want high maintenance?
No, you want low maintenance. You want low maintenance.
And I tell people, if you don't know what that maintenance thing means,
you've never dated a girl.
You're high. First of all, you're probably high maintenance.
Right.
But yeah, so here's the deal. So there's things that you can do. It doesn't have to be something tangible. It could be just like your enterprise thing, that little added service for them to spend 30 extra seconds with you.
Right.
It could be, to your point, it could be that follow-up of writing a handwritten note to thank a client. You know what? It could be something as simple as acknowledging that, if you're successful in business, waiting is inevitable. But here's the deal. The great companies think about ways that they can make that waiting just a little bit more pleasurable.
Disney.
Well, Disney, my friend Carl likes to call that Disney. Because here's the deal. They manage expectations better than anyone else. If they tell you it takes 30 minutes from here to get, waiting from here to get to the ride, how long does it take, Doug?
Less than 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. 20 maybe.
Right. They totally want you to feel like they are exceeding expectations. But let me ask you this, because I like where you're going. But I think that there are some companies that are out there that will take that. It's going to take us, I don't know, let's say if I'm put on hold, and the hold time averages, because they have the ability now to track all the shit. They track it. It's going to take 3 minutes. It's the person that says to me in a scripted tone, "Do you mind if I place you on hold for 2 minutes and 45 seconds?" That drives me fucking crazy. It's like I understand what they're trying to do. But the actual practice, when put into practice, it fails, because there's this huge disconnect between what companies want to accomplish because they have the analytics and the expectations out there, and what they actually do accomplish because they can't figure out what's the right juju to get it down to the front line.
Right, and that's where a lot of people fail. And this was my big takeaway after collecting over 1,000 examples. And by the way, Doug, have you ever collected 1,000 of anything?
Only pimples, and only.
Let me give you some advice. If you ever think about collecting 1,000 of anything, don't.
It's a lot.
501. That sounds great.
Yeah, 501 is. I mean, we've done maybe 350 interviews on the Nice Guys over the last 2.5 years. I feel like this is a good process, but 1,000. I think we're going to get to 1,000, but I'm sure we're going to get there a little differently than we've gotten to the first 350.
So what I learned is that the companies that really got it for their customer, even more so got it for their employees.
So say that again and make that make sense to me.
So the companies that we studied, and we did this big crowdsourcing project where people submitted examples of when they've had great customer experience. Mm-hmm. And when I studied and saw the patterns, again, with these Hall of Famers, they didn't just get it for the customers. They even got it more so for their employees in terms of doing the little things to give to their employees.
Okay, so the example was like that guy, Rob, or whoever, that was the enterprise guy that actually took the extra time and he got it. They empowered him to get it, and he actually got it.
Absolutely. So the key is beyond the dollars that you pay your employees. So my next book was called The Green Goldfish, and that was all about how do you do the little extras for your employees to drive their engagement and reinforce the culture within your business. Because here's the truth. You can't have happy, enthused customers unless you have happy, engaged employees.
Yeah. I agree with that. I could not agree with that any more than the words that are coming out of your mouth, because it's so true. The ones that are happy are the ones that make me happy as well, and the ones that go about their job like they're reading a script really makes me miserable. I mean, it makes me feel like they're doing me a favor by allowing me to spend my money with them, and I think that just shouldn't have to be that way.
You know what? Those employees that feel like they're scripted, I mean, it's bad for them, it's bad for the company, and it's bad for the customer. The great companies empower their employees, so you don't have to get transferred to another department. You don't have to talk to the manager when you hit a wall. They understand, look, your time and effort is critical, and you need to get what you need as quick as possible, and ideally with only making one call.
In a lot of the research and a lot of the information that I'm finding out about you as I go, not just to your site, because I'm not saying that most people don't or people don't tell the truth on their site, but people are going to actually, they're going to put themselves in the best light. But the information that I'm finding out about you as I'm doing a little research on the internet, of course, because the internet is always true, is that is that one of the things that's a common thread through a lot of your information and a lot of the stuff that either has been written about you or you write, is that there's this common thread about the difference between common sense and common practice.
Right.
So share a little bit about that and make that make sense to our nice guy community, who I know just wants to do a better job with servicing the customers that they have, or the prospective customers, so that they can add value and exceed expectations with them as well.
Yeah, so I love telling stories. I've collected over 3,000 stories, and I'm now writing the 7th book.
You've done thousands of a lot of things. I'm beginning to find that out. You're very routine in a lot of the things that you do. Apparently, you must get very good at them. If you do more than 20 of them, you're good, and you've done thousands of several things.
So here's the deal. I'll tell these stories, and usually if I'm doing a keynote or a workshop, I'll talk and go, let's put ourselves in the position of that employee that did the little extra. Or that customer that had that issue. Wouldn't you think it just would be common sense for the business to understand that, given the lifetime value of that customer or their ability to tell others about that experience, that you would just do the right thing? But what we all know as customers, Doug, is what we may think or even see as common sense is definitely not common practice. And I think too often companies are just willing to do just enough to try to meet expectations.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest mistake in business and the biggest myth in marketing.
So how do you get around it? How do you do those little things? How do you put those into? How do you incorporate those into your daily actions? And do you just, okay, I got my list right next to me to my left. I have my 1,000 things that I'm going to be able to do that are going to be the little extras. And today I'm going to throw in little extra number 427. Or do you take the company approach like DoubleTree has taken and just use it as a part of it's now just a part of what you do?
So I think a lot of times people rush right to design. That's the sexy thing to do, right? So let's figure out what our little extra is. And I think, and that's an important D, but I see it as a 3D kind of process, a continuous process. So the idea being, Doug, the first D is discovery. And discovery is about stepping outside of yourself and even your company to really try to understand what your customers are looking for and the attributes that matter to them.
Right.
And also, you can't be great at everything in business. So it's understanding what are the things that you want to own. And hopefully what you want to own squares up with the attributes that your customers will look for. And once you know both of those things, then you jump to design.
Right.
And again, little things can make a huge difference, but you've got to do the right things. And so you don't try to do 10 things at once. Do one thing, you test it, you pilot it, you validate that it works. And then once only you've done that in the design phase, you're ready to jump to the final D, which is the deployment phase. So then how do you actually operationalize that throughout the entire business, which means you get your employees on board, you make sure you have the resources to support it, you make sure that you're measuring it to make sure it's effective, and you're continuously, once you've got that one down, then you're looking to the next thing that you can do. And I think these little things are beacons. They're little signs when customers are so perceptive. They know when a corner has been cut, or they know when a business actually cares to do a little bit more. And here's how it works. I mean, we're programmed, to make sure that it's a zero-sum game. We give money and we expect to get a product or a service. And we need that to be equal. And what happens, Doug, when it drops a little bit lower? We go out of our way to tell people, we've got to make it right. Well, imagine if it goes the other way. Instead of just getting what you expected, imagine what happens if that business did just a little bit more to honor that relationship. Well, then what are you also forced to do? You're forced to almost make it even again. You've got to tell people about that. So I do think the little things can make a big difference, and I think the experience is so critical. In fact, you only have to go back 5 years ago, and people said 36% of business said customer experience is the main thing that you're going to compete on. That number is now 90%.
Yeah, it's incredible the differentiating factors between getting business and not getting the business. Oftentimes it's not a matter of what the specifications to the products are all. It is all about the customer service. It really is, and without exceeding the expectations of your customers, you'll very rarely even get the business. Won't even get an opportunity to bid. In the prospecting port, it's just so amazing. You can see it even while you're prospecting for new customers, is that all you need to do is sometimes just return their emails in a timely fashion. Right. That's what the differentiator between getting the business and not getting the business. It's crazy how follow-up is such a key thing. And I know, let me give you a couple other action things that I think listeners can think about. Yeah. We think about this idea, one of the 12 types is what we call sampling. Mm-hmm. And sampling is literally the lowest hanging fruit in marketing. But we look at sampling the wrong way, Doug. We look at sampling and say, how can we get a customer that doesn't do business with us? We give them a little taste, right? To get them through the door. Mm-hmm. Well, what if we actually employed sampling to the customers that we already have? Oh yeah, well, to me, it's always easier to do more with the people that you have in your stable already, rather than to go out and try to find new customers. So much easier to. I don't mean to say this in a negative way or a condescending way, but I'd much rather sell the customers that I have already in place than get new customers. It's so much more challenging to get more customers, to get new customers.
Depending on the studies, I mean, it's 1/10 the cost. Wow. As opposed to, and what happens, we all know this, right? What happens when we take a customer from having one product or service with us to having 2 or 3? What are they less likely to do?
Well, they're less likely to leave.
Right.
But the more you lock them in, the better it is.
And again, I think we can all feel better if we're doing, if we're have a greater piece of the pie and we're doing better things for the customer. Right. But here's the deal. This was shocking to me. I was at NSA last year. We met this year at NSA, but I was at NSA, and by the way, that's the speaking, not the listening, folks.
That's right, the speaking. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, NSA, the National Speakers Association, not the no such agency people.
and when I was at one of the breakouts, this was shocking to me, Doug. The speaker said, what percentage of 100% of your products and services, what do you think your current customers know of what you do out of that 100%?
Geez, I would say you'd hope they know everything. So I would say if I'm doing my job properly, let's go with the 80 to 100%.
No, here's what he said: 20%.
That shows you're doing we all are doing, and I'm sure I'm guilty of this too, an ineffective job of telling people what you do for a living and what you do for your company.
So let's go back to sampling. Why wouldn't you think about it when you have a chance to engage your customers? Why wouldn't you, as part of that little extra, do that little something? I'll tell you one of my favorite ones, and I was just in Minneapolis last week for a workshop, and I got a chance to visit them because I've written about them and spoke about them for years. But there's a little ice cream shop, Doug, in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's called Izzy's Ice Cream. Mm-hmm. And they make amazing ice cream. In fact, Reader's Digest rated these guys as the best ice cream in America.
Wow.
Here's the deal. When you buy a scoop of ice cream at Izzy's, they let you pick a second flavor, and they give you this little mini scoop on top. And that little mini scoop is called the Izzy. Now, by the way, it's trademarked. So if you have an ice cream shop, you can't use that. But
that's exactly what you're talking about. Give them a sample of the other stuff that you do.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Summers, who opened this place like 17 years ago, someone told him, there's only two things you have to do in business. One is smile, and two, give away free samples. And I'll give him credit. He's like, I don't want to give that away to just a prospect with maybe the fact that they might come and buy ice cream from me.
Right.
He's like, why don't I just give the sample to the people that are actually buying from me?
Totally makes sense. Love it.
But nobody does it. Most companies, we get the feeling, and the cable companies are the worst at this, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
how do they treat you if you're a current customer? They treat you like dirt.
Well, they give all the new deals. They give all the new deals to the new customers, and only if you're not a current contract holder, and if you call to try to negotiate with them, forget that.
And it's unbelievable. I think actually the phone companies, the mobile companies used to have that same philosophy, and you see that they're changing that.
Yeah.
So my hope would be, because to me, it's like you feel like you're a piece of meat with them. They don't value at all. You're just a number to them.
Hey, Stan, on the personal side, I got to ask this because I'm a big admirer of the TED style talks, and I see that you did a TEDx.
Right.
So what did that feel like?
It was a goal of mine, and I got a chance to go to Georgia to do it. A place called Douglasville, which is a suburb of Atlanta, and it was an amazing experience. The talk, if anyone's looking to look it up, it's called "Rethinking Business with the Power of Glue."
Yeah, we'll make sure we put the link in the show notes for that. Yeah, I love the story that you were telling about the glue. I won't give it away, but I'll put the link in the show notes.
Acronym, right?
Yeah, so that they can go over there. So I got to ask this because you're a customer service guy, and I know you're friends with Adam Toporek, who is a huge supporter of the Nice Guy Show. He's got a podcast as well. So when are you starting your podcast?
I need to rethink that because when I had that original Purple Goldfish project, I actually did about 40 episodes around that, and this is back in 2010 or so.
Yeah, now they're hot, man. They're hot.
I need to rethink it. You guys are blazing a path, man. You've got me thinking about it.
Well, you'll be getting some marketing materials from me, right? as a follow-up. Now you may not know this, but we own a podcast production company. I didn't ask that as a leading question, but I was asking because I know you do. I know you do like to do interviews, and you're a well-adept speaker. So, if somebody in our community wanted to get a hold of you or more information about your stuff, or get a copy of the entire series of Goldfish books, how can they do that?
You can just go to Amazon. Purple Goldfish was the first one, but we've got green goldfish, golden goldfish, blue goldfish, red goldfish. Currently working on pink goldfish.
Nice.
The sixth color in the series.
Now if you do it in pink, you got to give some to the breast cancer charity.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
That book should come out in October, I think.
Awesome, man.
No, it should. It's actually going to come out in December, But so you can go to Amazon. PurpleGoldfish.com is also a place. I get a chance. I'm a contributor for Forbes. So if you searched some of the articles I've written for Forbes. I've been doing that for a few years. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on and to espouse a little 9-inch philosophy.
No, I'm so happy you were here, and I'm glad we started with the top of the show with the Strickland Bonner trivia, so he'll enjoy that as well. Stan, we'll make sure we put all your information in the show notes about how to get in touch with you and how to get a copy of your books and how to check out the glue that comes together with the TEDx Douglasville. So thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the value of nice. Again, special thanks to Stan for doing his thing. All of his information in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Side effects may include tingling, numbness, urinary incontinence, the need to watch the Kardashians. If you have an erection for more than 3 hours, call your friends to brag. The Nice Guys on Business is not for everyone. Consult your physician before usage.
Yeah, baby.
God.
Oh,
Is he
shit.
I mean, from the video, and he looks like a straight guy. Is
Yeah,
he really
he's
kind of a straight guy?
but I don't give a fuck. You know what? It doesn't matter. It does
Right,
not
we're
matter.
just us.